I'm good, Nancy. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. So I'm super excited to know what inspired you for this Immaculate Room because I have a feeling that you felt like you were in one once.
Well, it's kind of a little esoteric, but the mind, that my idea for this movie was that the mind is causes us a lot of trouble, and we can never really deal with our mind because we're always distracted from things. They say you can't solve a problem until you first acknowledge that it exists. So with a lot of distractions, no one's really dealing with their stuff. And so the idea is that the mind, the room is actually some chance for people to take away all those distractions so they can actually see what's actually going on. And through the process of being in the room, they can hopefully come out and they would have dealt with their stuff. So for me, I was inspired by actually showing the stuff that lurks beneath the surface and seeing it come out.
So did you have the concept of a white room? Because I thought maybe gray would have worked great too.
Well, there were a few things. I mean, I had the idea of the white room, and then I had this picture of the end of the movie where everything was just, it was like the whole body and mind had purged all of its toxic stuff. And literally, physically, that had become all over the walls. And, so it was a real mess. So for me to go from white to that was going to be the strongest thing, from immaculate to not so immaculate. So that was my thinking with the pristine and immaculate nature of the room.
I'm super curious about casting because, I feel like maybe it's easier for the actors when there's props, there's an environment, it's easier for them to kind of put themselves in that ambient. But in this case, the Immaculate Room is white. So they had to play with a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah. My experience with actors and actresses is that they just want a juicy role where they can actually explore some deep and interesting things. Because, sometimes you can give people spectacle, but if they're just standing there in the spectacle and there's no emotional arc or there's no journey or there's no kind of depth or truth to their performance, they kind of don't like that so much. So they really enjoyed the fact that it was like a very raw and bare and honest kind of opportunity to just, tell a very compelling story. So in some ways, it just your eyes more on the actor than if you're going to have explosions going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, the actors, Emile and Kate did a terrific job on this. It's just extraordinary. And you never really know what you're going to get and how it's going to turn out. But they really delivered like these very vulnerable and honest and kind of stellar performances. So I was very, very happy.
What was it about their chemistry that told you they are perfect to be casted?
Well, the thing is, they're both good actors, and that's a big deal because if you're a good actor, you can fake chemistry. But it just so happened as a strike of good fortune that they both have a working relationship. They've been in movies before, they're actually friends. And that kind of familiarity that they had and that showed in the dynamic between them was just kind of a bonus for us. But I was really, really impressed with them, how they really elevated the story by very riveting performances.
I'm super curious about the treats because I personally thought they were going to be snacks. So, how did you come up with that? Did you have that idea from day one as you were writing the script?
Well, let me ask you, like, so if you were in the room, what is the one thing you would want? And you think it's food. Yeah, it's probably food for some people, but larger than that, people want something to do. Like people go crazy, like they need some activity and something small, like he reads the label of his shirt like 5 times because it's something to do, and that's
Mhm.
the state that you go to. So the idea with the treats actually well, the whole room is actually there as this actual operation, to actually, like a medical operation, to actually help these people try acknowledge and then deal with stuff that's really holding them back.
Mhm.
So, you know, Kate has issues with money and Emile has issues with his relationship, and in a very basic way. And through the course of the movie, they really have to kind of see what's going on with themselves and try and make progress. So the treats and everything that happens in the room is designed to bring this out of them. So at the end of it, they can go through the fire and come out happier and wiser and more mature as people. So everything was designed around that.
So you asked me what I would have wanted, and I did think about it. I would have wanted a novel.
Right, something for the mind.
Yes, because I feel like even a novel, it's something you can reread again because there
Yeah,
might be something that you're like, oh, I didn't think of that concept before. Kind of like watching a movie. If watching this movie, it's going to be like,
yeah,
oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't catch that little concept.
yeah.
But
And
yeah.
you'll even read that novel backwards. just, just for something new, because the mind always needs new things, you
Mhm.
know? So yeah, novel would be great.
So aside of obviously the cast were extraordinary, but for you directing also, what was the experience being like in such a just a one room, very, very simple.
Well, in some ways, it was easier than a lot of stuff that I've done because of the, you know, normally you're just jumping from location to location, different weather conditions, just so many different elements. So we're able to reduce a lot of that. So that was, in one sense, it was a lot simpler. But the difficulty was making the environment visually interesting. And we spent a lot of time in pre-production making sure that the room was really beautiful to look at, although it was just white in one sense, and that we had these different lighting setups for dawn and for dusk and for midday, and those were very elegant as well. Some of that stuff shot at night was really beautiful. And then, you know, I wrote in a lot of stuff. There's the trip scene, and then there's the projector stuff, and so visually, we really made a real effort to make sure we have actually a beautiful piece of work to look at. And then the rest was just like making sure that we told this, because it's a pretty compelling story, you know. And so if you just stayed with these two people against this kind of very elegant and beautiful backdrop, which slowly decayed over time as the characters themselves kind of decayed, I thought you would have kind of a good combination there.
Would be the one treat you would want? I'm sure you thought about if you were in the Immaculate Room.
Oh gosh, I actually haven't. But well, yeah, I think reading matter. I tell you, you know, some really deep, esoteric, philosophical books like about this big. That's what I'd want.
Something similar to the Bible, a Bible.
Yeah, something that that's got layers to it, as you said, that you can reread and get more out of. You know,
Hmm.
because it's a long time with nothing. I mean, that's actually a line in the movie. Emile says, you know, it's a long time with nothing.
Oh, we had a little character, a little guy, kind of equivalent like a Wilson, but it was
Yeah.
the little bug.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit of that little character? What made you come up with that one? Because I was surprised that something so tiny and such an immaculate room could get in there.
Yeah. Well, you wanted to start having these things that set off the characters, you know, and actually that's the beginning of when things start to really fall apart. And it really started to show the different kind. That little bug was a real catalyst to show how different they actually were as a couple and their worldviews are, etc., etc. So I really liked the way that this small tiny thing was really just the beginning of this fault line in their relationship. And as you see, like this cracks just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I like, you know, it was just a simple little bug, but it had such a pivotal role in this whole thing.
I have to admit, after watching the film, I kind of thought about the little simple things that it's like, wow, if I didn't have that one little thing, that it would really make a difference. A crayon, a simple green crayon was amazing to watch how it could change an artist. So limited and tied with nothing.
Yeah. The we actually we've lost the ability largely to appreciate simple things, and it's actually a tragedy. It's actually really tragic because just to walk and under some trees is a beautiful thing, actually, but our mind is so distracted and needs so much sugar, in a sense, not actual physical sugar, but like metaphorical sugar, like these hits all the time. Otherwise, it's bored or restless. So that idea of gratitude for simple things is really wonderful, actually. I wish I had more of it. I definitely try and cultivate it. But yeah, it makes for a simpler and a happier life. Because, like with sugar, the more sugar you have, the more you actually need. And it becomes like, for you to eat an apple, it's like an apple's almost bitter because you're so used to such, sodas and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
actually, the ability to appreciate an apple versus needing constantly more sugar, you can clearly see which is a better way to go and which is going to make us happier people.
Mm-hmm.
This thing about the mind, it's a problem. It's a problem.
And technology is definitely not helping.
No, it's unfortunately not. It's so good at giving you that little hit immediately. Like it's shorter and shorter, like TikTok. You're talking about seconds. You're not even talking about hours anymore. You're really talking about minutes. You're actually talking about seconds. It's something super concentrated and super contained in seconds. So that capacity to kind of go a little deeper and to focus and be more meditative of certain things and to actually get the juice out of the essence of certain things, we're losing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I like to say we should go backwards. Everyone's rushing forward for, the future and what's happening in the future and progress. But sometimes going back is not so bad.
It's not. It's not. Well, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. And I'm sure you're going to leave us appreciating the little things. And maybe we should start, maybe, like you said, going backwards a little.
Thank you, Nancy.